Nobody in the gun industry wants me to make this video. Not the manufacturers, not the salesmen, and definitely not the influencers who get paid to hold up a new model every week and tell you it is the greatest thing ever built. Because the first-time gun buyer is the most profitable customer in the entire firearms market. You do not know what you need, you do not know what questions to ask, and every person you trust for advice, your uncle, your coworker, your buddy who watches tactical content on the internet, is going to tell you to buy whatever they bought, regardless of whether it fits your hands, your life, or your purpose. I am going to fix that, right now. Everything in this video is what I wish someone had told me before I made my first purchase, and everything the industry hopes you never hear, because an informed buyer spends less money, makes fewer mistakes, and never comes back to trade in a gun they should not have bought in the first place. The first thing you need to do, before you walk into a gun store, before you open a browser tab, before you ask a single person for a recommendation, is answer one question: what is this gun for? That is it. That is the entire foundation. And the answer needs to be specific, because home defense, concealed carry, hunting, and range shooting are four completely different missions that require four completely different firearms. A full-size pistol that is perfect for home defense is terrible for concealed carry because you cannot hide it under a shirt. A tiny subcompact that conceals beautifully is miserable to shoot at the range because the short grip and light frame amplify recoil. A shotgun that is ideal for waterfowl is too long and unwieldy for home defense. A precision bolt-action rifle that groups beautifully at 300 yards is useless for self-protection. Every bad first purchase starts with the same mistake. The buyer walked in without knowing what they needed, and the salesman sold them what was on the shelf. Define the mission first. Everything else follows from that. The second thing you need to understand is that the gun that feels best in your hand at the counter is almost never the gun that shoots best on the range. This is the single most expensive lesson first-time buyers learn, and most of them learn it after the purchase, not before. When you pick up a gun in a store, you are evaluating it in a zero-stress, zero-recoil, zero-noise environment. The gun is unloaded, the store is quiet, you are holding it with fresh hands and no adrenaline. In that environment, you will gravitate toward the gun that is lightest, smoothest, and most comfortable to grip. And that gun, almost without exception, is the worst possible choice for a new shooter. Light guns kick harder. Smooth grips slip under recoil. Comfortable means small, and small means less surface area for your hands to manage the force of the slide cycling or the muzzle rising. Here is what I want you to do instead. Go to a range that rents firearms. Most indoor ranges offer this for $10 to $20 per gun. Rent 3 or 4 models in the caliber and size class you are considering. Shoot at least 2 magazines through each one. Evaluate them under recoil, under noise, under the physical reality of firing live ammunition. The gun that felt awkward in the store but shot smoothly on the range is the gun you should buy. The gun that felt perfect in the store but beat your hands up after 30 rounds is the gun you should walk away from. Do not buy a gun you have not fired. You would not buy a car without driving it. This is more important than a car. Now let us talk about caliber, because this is where first-time buyers get the most dangerous advice. If you are buying a handgun for self-defense, start with 9mm. Full stop. The FBI switched back to 9mm in 2015 after decades of experimenting with 40 caliber and 10mm because the data was conclusive. Modern defensive 9mm ammunition achieves terminal performance nearly identical to larger calibers, with significantly less recoil, faster follow-up shots, and higher magazine capacity. If someone tells you that 9mm is not enough gun, ask them to cite a single professional firearms training organization or law enforcement agency that agrees with them in 2026. They will not be able to, because none do. Starting with a .45 or a .357 Magnum as your first gun is like learning to drive in a race car. You will develop a flinch, you will develop bad habits, and you will spend months or years unlearning them. Start with 9. Master the fundamentals. If you want a bigger caliber later, you will have the skills to handle it. Quick pause. If you are watching this as someone who just decided to buy their first gun, or someone who already bought one and wishes they had known all this first, I want to hear from you. Drop your story in the comments. Every honest first-time experience helps the next person avoid the same mistakes. Here is something nobody tells you at the counter. The gun is the cheapest part of owning a gun. When you budget for your first firearm, most people set aside $400 to $600 and think they are done. You are not done. You need ammunition, and not just one box. You need enough to actually train with, which means at least 500 rounds in the first few months, minimum. At current prices, that is another $100 to $200 for 9mm, more for other calibers. You need a way to carry or store the gun. If it is for home defense, you need a quality quick-access safe, not the cheap lockbox from the hardware store that a child can open with a butter knife. A real biometric or simplex lock safe runs $150 to $300. If you are carrying concealed, you need a holster, and not one holster. You will probably buy 3 before you find one that works with your body and your wardrobe. Budget $60 to $150 for that process. You need eyes and ears for the range. You need cleaning supplies. And above all, you need training. A basic handgun fundamentals course costs $50 to $300, and it is the single most important purchase you will make after the gun itself. The total real cost of responsible first-time gun ownership is not $500. It is closer to $1,200 to $1,500, and pretending otherwise is how people end up with an expensive paperweight in a nightstand drawer they have not opened in 6 months. Let me talk about the 4 rules, because these are not suggestions. These are the operating system of every safe gun owner on Earth, and violating any one of them is how people die. Rule 1. Every gun is always loaded, even when you just checked it, even when your buddy just checked it, even when it has been sitting in the safe for a year. You treat it as loaded until you personally verify it, and even then, you still follow the next 3 rules. Rule 2. Never point the muzzle at anything you are not willing to destroy. This includes your own foot, your wall with your children's bedroom on the other side, and the salesperson standing behind the counter when you are examining a gun in the store. Muzzle discipline is the most visible indicator of whether someone knows what they are doing. Rule 3. Keep your finger off the trigger until your sights are on target and you have made the decision to fire. Your finger lives on the frame of the gun, above the trigger guard, index straight along the slide or receiver. It does not enter the trigger guard until the moment you are ready to shoot. Rule 4. Know your target and what is beyond it. Bullets do not stop because you want them to. They pass through drywall, through car doors, through people. You are responsible for every round you fire from the moment it leaves the barrel until it comes to a complete stop, wherever that is. Now let us talk about what not to buy. Do not let anyone sell you a subcompact as your first handgun. Subcompacts are expert-level guns. They are small, snappy, hard to grip, and unforgiving of imperfect technique. They exist for experienced shooters who have mastered the fundamentals on a larger gun and need something they can conceal. Starting with a subcompact is starting on hard mode with no tutorial. Buy a compact or full-size 9mm as your first gun. The Glock 19, the Smith & Wesson M&P 9 Compact, the Sig Sauer P320, the Springfield Hellcat Pro, any of these in their standard, compact, or full-size configuration will serve you well. They are reliable, widely supported, affordable, and forgiving of the mistakes every new shooter makes. Do not buy a gun because it looks tactical. Do not buy a gun because a movie character carried it. Do not buy a gun because the salesman says it is the last one in stock and he has 3 people waiting. That is a pressure tactic, not a fact. And do not buy a gun from anyone who has not asked you what the gun is for before recommending one. If the first thing out of a salesman's mouth is a model name and not a question about your experience, your purpose, and your hand size, walk out. They are selling inventory, not solving your problem. And here is the last thing, the thing that matters more than every other word in this video combined. The gun does not make you safe. You make you safe. A firearm in the hands of someone who has not trained is not a defensive tool. It is a liability with a trigger. The people who survive defensive encounters are not the people with the most expensive gun. They are the people who trained under stress, who practiced drawing from a holster until it was automatic, who put rounds on target at 5 and 7 yards until the fundamentals were embedded in muscle memory. A $500 pistol with $2,000 of training behind it will outperform a $2,000 pistol with no training every single time. That is not an opinion. That is the consensus of every credible firearms instructor on earth. Your first gun is not a purchase. It is a commitment to learning the laws of your state, a commitment to safe storage, a commitment to regular practice, a commitment to taking the responsibility of owning a tool capable of ending a life as seriously as that responsibility deserves. If you are ready for that commitment, welcome. You are about to join a community of millions of responsible owners who take this seriously every single day. And if you are not ready yet, that is fine too. There is no shame in waiting until you are. The gun will still be there. And now you know exactly what to look for when you are ready. If this helped you, share it with someone who is thinking about their first purchase. And tell me in the comments what you wish someone had told you before you bought yours. Those stories are how we make sure the next first-time buyer gets it right.